Okay, so it's time for us to go ahead and get back into our coverage over Ultimate Spider-Man. And now we're going to pick up with issues number 21 and 22. Man, I'm kind of sad right now because, it's the idea of the Ultimate Marvel Universe ending once again. And I kind of feel like Marvel has the ability to kind of like continue the Ultimate Marvel Universe because honestly, it was making them a lot of money. But at the same time, it's probably best to go ahead and end this universe on a good note rather than a bad note. Now, with that being said, as we get into Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 21, we pick up with James Wesley. Now, for James Wesley, as we all know, the dude is the right-hand man for the Kingpin. But the problem is right now for James is that as he's getting outside his vehicle, he is then instantly attacked by one of the bullseyes that works for the Kingpin. And so just like that, James has now been officially captured. But the question is now, who has gone out of their way to capture James? Well, and that would be because of Mr. Negative, who had influenced Bullseye go out of their way to grab James and bring James to him. Now, for Mr. Negative, we have to remember the dude is part of the Sinister Six. But here's the catch, though. You see, for Mr. Negative, he kind of feels like right now his back is in a corner because so much chaos right now happening with the all-out war between Green Goblin, Mysterio, Kingpin, and the rest of the Sinister Six. But it's also Mr. Negative want to go out of his way to get rid of the Kingpin, to move up the ladder. But to do that, he has to learn information about the Kingpin. And so he grabbed James, somebody who's Kingpin's right-hand man. Now, we're also kind of given small pieces of the origin to Mr. Negative. And really, his origin is really important for the overall storyline in this one particular issue because when it came to him and his sister, they moved over to America as immigrants. Now, when they did arrive, apparently around the same time was when the Maker began to play with this world. But when it came to him and his sister, they were basically poor. And so you had different criminals in the area use them for different kinds of crimes. At the same time, though, when it came to Mr. Negative, his powers began to manifest. Now, with his powers, him and his sister were technically able to build an empire in their part of town, and that empire was very strong. Now, for a brief moment, we have to shift over to J. Jonah Jameson and Uncle Mim because in this reality, those two characters right there, they're trying their best to get their paper off the ground, to get the people to kind of read their paper, to show proof of corruption going on across the world thanks to the Maker. Now, the problem is that for JJ, he says, listen, how some people work is that once you hear enough bad news over and over again, you begin the process of trying to build a wall around you to block out the bad news. And so it's him saying we have gone too big when it came to going after the Maker. So why not go ahead and try to, reveal all the bad things about Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. We do shift over to, well, Harry Osborn and also Otto Octavius. Now, for Harry Osborn, is him coming to Otto to get some advice about what to do with his marriage to Gwen Stacy? Because for Harry Osborn, he had no idea that Gwen Stacy was technically Mysterio. But on top of that, he had no idea that she had all these different plans to bring down the Kingpin, that she has been doing this for a very long time. And so for Harry, he kind of feels like their marriage is no longer as strong as it used to be. Now, for Harry, he also finds the spider and Otto Octavius freaks out, kind of hinting at the idea that spider could become very important down the road. But it's also Otto telling Harry, like, listen, here's some advice for you. Just get a divorce. And I'm kind of like, dang, Otto, like you don't have any other kind of advice to help the man out? Now, we do get another piece of the origin to, well, Mr. Negative. And we learn here that for Mr. Negative, once he had met the Kingpin, because it's going to happen sooner or later, the idea of Mr. Negative and his sister having their own empire, but the same goes for the Kingpin, sooner or later their criminal empires would cross paths. Now, for Mr. Negative, he felt like he should be able to use his powers on Wilson Fisk to kind of control him. But the problem is, Wilson's willpower is so strong that for Mr. Negative, his powers does not work on him at all. But you do have the two guys come to an understanding and kind of build an alliance between one another. But back in the present day, we do see Mr. Negative kind of hinting at the idea of using Wesley as a way to get to the Kingpin because he believes that Wesley is so loyal to the Kingpin. But you did have Wesley say, that's not the case at all. I'm not really, loyal to him at all because I work for somebody else. I work with other people. And so you didn't have Mr. Negative being able to use his powers on Wesley to have Wesley tell him that he is Mysterio, or at least one of the many Mysterios. Because let's not forget that when it came to Mysterio, at first we had no idea who Mysterio was. And then out of nowhere, we have found out Mysterio was Gwen Stacy, but not really. You see, what happens is that when it comes to the council, they meet up to figure out what their next moves are going to be. But each time you have one person wearing the amulet that allows that person to have abilities like Mysterio. And so for Gwen Stacy, with her war against Wilson Fisk, she has been holding on to the amulet more than anybody else. But you didn't have everyone kind of realize that Wesley is not doing well. It's kind of like he's hiding something. But then we are given another piece of the origin to Mr. Negative. And we learn here that after he had technically built this alliance with the Kingpin, well, for his sister, she hated the idea of what he did. She found it so disgusting, so wrong, that she slapped him and then abandoned him. She left the empire that they had built together. Now, that part right there, it's really important. And the reason why, because, well, you do have Mr. Negative being able to use this moment as a way to kind of sit down and talk to Wesley to learn more about the idea of Mysterio and the different members of the council who make up Mysterio, like Gwen Stacy. Now, here's the thing, because in the present day, we're now seeing this meeting happening between all the different members of, well, Mysterios. And at first we thought like, okay, cool, this should be a regular meeting. But Wesley is very quiet. Now, there was one member to the council where a lot of people have believed that it was like Wilson Fisk's wife who had joined the Mysterios as a way to bring him down. No. That young lady right there is actually the sister to Mr. Negative. She's alive still, but also still trying to chase for power, but now a more magical way. But the thing is, once she looks at James, she understands the look he has right now. She knows that James is being controlled by her brother. And we also learn here that for Mr. Negative, he kind of felt like this was the right time to make his move. And so he has sent out soldiers to go after the other members of the Sinister Six, to go after Spider-Man, to possibly go after Green Goblin as well. But to end this issue right here, when it comes to James, who's right now part of this Mysterio meeting, he has a bomb around his body. And so the bomb goes off and we're kind of left to believe that every single member of the Mysterios have all been killed off, including Gwen Stacy. And so as we get into Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 22, we pick up with a Spider-Man at the moment going out of their way to get takeout. Now, the reason why I say a Spider-Man, because in this reality, there are at least two Spider-Men, Peter Parker and his son, right? And so as the opening pages go on, we see the Spider-Man get takeout and they head to this underground bunker. And we see the Spider-Man going over to Mary Jane and her daughter. So I'm kind of like, okay, cool, it's Peter Parker, but the suit is new, and it does look like a combination of two different suits. Superior Spider-Man, and also got vibes from the Spider-Man video game as well. But then we kind of find out that this Spider-Man is not Peter Parker nor Richard Parker, it's Otto Octavius. So now we have our ultimate superior Spider-Man. Now, we're not flat out told, like, okay, how in the world did Otto Octavius become the new Spider Man? Now, the last chapter, it did show him having a spider in his lab, and that could be Jonathan Hickman saying, like, hey, that's all you need to know. He had that spider, and bam, just like that, he became Superior Spider Man. But we see that right now, him, Mary Jane, her kids, Uncle Ben, JJ, Mole Man, and Otto Octavius, they're all right now in this underground bunker, just trying their best to survive and hoping the war will end very soon. Now, for Peter Parker and also Green Goblin, they're not there at the moment. But we also learn here that when it comes to Uncle Ben and JJ, they're getting very close into the idea of telling the world about the Kingpin, but also like the Maker as well. But getting over to Peter Parker and Green Goblin, we see those two characters at the moment fighting against, well, a army of bullseyes. Now, of course, this right here is not really major, the idea of fighting bullseyes, but it's also the idea of us seeing Green Goblin kind of dealing with the idea of Gwen Stacy no longer being around. We saw her get supposedly blown up. And so when you do have our two heroes being able to defeat this army of bullseyes, well, now it's time to go back to the base. But for Harry, he wants to stay behind and kind of figure out why were all these bullseye inside this building. And so for Peter Parker, he does go back over to the bunker. But for Harry, he stays behind. But right after Peter leaves, we did see somebody communicate with Harry Osborn. Now, for me personally, I thought it was his AI. Because remember, guys, when it came to the early days of Ultimate Spider-Man, Peter and Harry both got AIs. Now, for Peter AI, it's just Peter Parker all over again. But for Harry Osborn's AI, it was his father, Norman Osborn. And so when it comes to Harry, we see him being able to have a conversation with somebody who calls him his son. But now this is me saying like, okay, Jonathan Hickman is going to go ahead and drop small ideas that could be used as a way to help in the Ultimate Marvel universe. Because now we pick up with Otto Octavius. Now for Otto Octavius, what he wants to do is shut down the Maker in a way because he knows about the Maker, right? But for Otto Octavius, he had learned that for the Maker, there is this device that's being kept in the center of the world. That device is connected to other devices across the world, basically a network that's all connected to the city that the Maker had created. And so what Otto Octavius wants to do is find a way to shut down the network, to infect the network. But to do that, you got to find one of the devices that's part of the network. And so he already knows that the Kingpin, at least his base, should have one of those devices. The thing is, somebody got to break into the Kingpin's base. And that right there is pretty serious. Now, we see Otto talking to Richard Parker. And I'm kind of like, do not send Richard Parker in there and then possibly die or get grounded all over again because he's not following his parents' directions. No, for Otto Octavius, he wants Richard Parker to go meet up with Felicia, Black Cat, because she is a thief. She knows how to break into places. So why not get her to break into the base of the Kingpin and begin the idea of bringing down the network? Now, we also get this like brief moment where we see Mary Jane and Peter Parker being able to, show off their love for one another. But it's also the idea like Peter Parker has this feeling that something bad is about to happen. Now, technically, a lot of bad things had already happened, but he feels like something else is going to pop off very soon. When it does, things are going to get a whole lot worse. And he's correct. But let's go ahead and get back over to Richard Parker, because we do see Richard Parker meeting up with Felicia Hardy, right? And once he does meet up with Felicia Hardy, it's her being told like, hey, this is what has to be done right now. We need somebody to break into that building and basically connect us to the Maker server to bring it down. Now, it's also her wanting to get revenge against Mr. Negative, because as we saw in the last chapter, that dude went wild and began to attack all the different people who are involved in this massive storyline. But also we kind of got the idea that her father was killed off by Mr. Negative in one of the panels in the last chapter. But anyways, she does agree to help out Richard Parker, but we're not done yet, y'all. So let's go ahead and end this video on one heck of a cliffhanger. Because as a way to close on this book, we do switch over to Harry Osborn. And again, we thought Harry was talking to the AI again, right? No, he was not even talking to the AI. He was talking to this messed up version of Mysterio. And we kind of get the idea that all the different people who were part of the Mysterio Council have came together to make this one particular Mysterio. And so the book ends on that note. Guys, we only have 2 more issues left before Ultimate Spider-Man officially ends. But this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.